Welcome, everybody. It's nice to have you here this evening to Beyond the Closet Door. I'm Anne-Marie Zanzel, and my colleague Barb Rollinson will be leading this tonight. And I don't know what we're going to call our little girl, our girl that's coming out behind the door. She looks like Michelle. So Michelle is also welcoming you this evening. And so if you have any questions while I'm talking, you can put them in the chat. We are keeping everything so it's very private. So if you're somebody who is not out yet and are worried about having your face shown or anything like that, nobody can see this because the only thing the recording can see right now is the screen that I am showing. So if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. And Barb will let me know what they are. But also, too, when we're done with this presentation, you can also just ask us then. So this is the best of my work and Barb's work that we've done with the Later in Life community for the past 6 years. We really want to thank you for joining. Each day we'll cover an aspect of this journey and provide you a small part of what we do in our coaching program. So the way we're set up tonight, we don't usually do a presentation in our coaching program like this. Once in a while we do. It's more about mutual support and talking with each other, but this is how we basically do our coaching program in the Zoom rooms like this. Thursday evening, we're going to have a question and answer session right after. So if you want to stay Thursday evening at 8 p.m. Central Time, you can come and ask us any question you have, anything. And Barb and I will be very, very happy to answer those for you. I really believe in the power of the universe. And there's a reason why you found us, you found Barb and I, whether you Googled, am I straight, or 7 signs I might not be straight, can I be a lesbian after I've been married, or a myriad of other questions on Google, or you've seen us on Facebook or TikTok or Instagram. I believe that the universe led you here for a reason down this path to find us. Before we begin, Barb and I want you to know that we have been where you all are now. As I said before, I came out in 2016 and Barb in 2017, and it was not a parade. Both of us have had very challenge experiences coming out. But since that time, I've helped thousands of women come out later in life, whether it is through one-on-one coaching or group coaching or all the content that Barb and I produce or my podcast Coming Out and Beyond. If you're not in my Facebook group, I have a couple, but the one that's secret and hidden and nobody can find, you have to know me to join it, or Barb, or one of the, if you knew Megan and Karen, they could get you in the group too. But somebody that's in the group that that can get you to invite you to the group for you to join. You cannot find it by searching in the search bar in Facebook. So this is some of the work I've done over the years. These are some of the groups that I have held. Actually, Megan came to Nashville. That group is not in this picture, but I've had people come to Nashville and have done groups with them. I have also led some retreats out in Utah. I love Utah. I want to go back there someday. This is a retreat I had in New Mexico where we're all in the pool. And so we've had some wonderful experiences gathering people together. So that is a testimonial for me. You can find all the testimonials you want. They're on my website under annemariezanzel.com, and you can just go to testimonials and read them all. So Barb and I feel like it's really important. And although this information will be available each night, we sort of skim through it the next 2 nights, just so that the people who are watching this online can see it if they just watch one. But we really want to sort of let you know who we are. So I was raised in a chaotic home. I'm known as an adult child of an alcoholic. And because of that, it has made me make some decisions around my life. So I lived a heteronormative life until I was 50 years old. I'm now divorced from my ex-husband. We were married for 27 years. I identify as queer and as a lesbian. I am the mom of 4 kids. You can see them up in the upper corner. Like a lot of you, I have cared for aging parents. I consider myself a spiritual seeker. I am an ordained minister in the United Church of Christ, but it hasn't stopped with that. And I am still someone who defines himself as a spiritual seeker. That's my hotsy totsy wife next to me, and that's the night of our rehearsal dinner. And I've been married to my wife now for 2 years. We've been together for about 7. I moved from Connecticut to Nashville after I came out. My wife is from Nashville, and the reason I moved here is because she was caring for her aging mother, who has since passed away. And so when we were deciding to live, that's why I ended up here. Some things about me is I show up for people. That's who I've been. I've always been that, and I will die being that. I'm just somebody who shows up for other people. I love to travel. My wife and I really love to travel. If we become Facebook friends, you'll see us post pictures a lot. So we do a lot of things together. I consider myself funny and kind. I have a bit of a temper, so if you really know me well, you can experience that temper. But I'm also passionate. I am the youngest of 5 kids. I am also a very unique situation. I am 9 years younger in Catholic family, 9 years younger than my next sibling. So even though I am 60 now, my siblings are all in their 70s. I love to play pickleball. I'm a Broadway show aficionado. My wife jokes that there's a gay man living inside of me desperately trying to get out because I love Broadway. I'm a soccer fan and I really do love a good book. So professionally, I'm a graduate of Yale Divinity School. I graduated from the Women's Leadership Program from Hartford Seminary. I am an ordained minister in the very progressive United Church of Christ here in the United States. I am a clinically trained chaplain, a bereavement counselor. I have a certificate in adult development and training and diversity. I am the owner of Amory Zanzel Coaching. I consider myself an entrepreneur. I am the owner of Purposeful Empowerment. And little fun fact, I've been the general contractor for 3 home renovations. And before the meeting, Barb and I were talking about our skills that we have. And I said, I've laid a concrete floor. So I can do that stuff. I'm also was a hospice chaplain for 7 years, and I think that has had a real profound effect on what I do now. And this is the lovely Barb.
Thank you. So, this is who I am personally. And like Anne Marie, I also grew up in a chaotic home, except I had a parent who has mental illness. And that's what created the instability in my home. So that, as like similar to children of alcoholics, can create the conditions for becoming a people pleaser. And just to add another layer to that, I'm also a middle child. And as my therapist likes to call it, I'm the meat in the sandwich. I'm what brings everything together. And middle children tend to be the peacekeepers of the family. And so that was me. As I mentioned before, I was married for 21 years. I was with my ex-husband for 24 years. And I have 2 grown children. They're 19 and 23. My oldest daughter came out as transgender not too far after I came out myself, just maybe about 2 years after that. So we're a very queer family and affirming family. I have a surviving parent. My like Anne-Marie, I've had some experience taking care of an aging parent. My dad had Parkinson's disease for almost 20 years. And I have done a lot of big, brave things since I have come out. I Things that I never would have done in my married life. I have made a move from the place I've lived in the longest, my entire life. I lived in a small town on Georgian Bay for 17 years, and I have made the move to live on a flower farm in Kawartha Lakes, Ontario. And as I was telling Emery earlier, it's springtime, so I'm spending a whole lot of time outside in the field doing all kinds of work and running giant rototillers and driving tractors and digging and getting myself filthy and loving every minute of it. And it's super empowering to operate equipment that, is usually reserved for men to operate. So, girl power. When I'm not farming, I'm obviously working for Anne Marie and a handful of other clients, but I'm also earning my master's degree in counseling psychology. So when I graduate, I'll be able to work as a psychotherapist. I Another big brave thing I did is I overcame a phobia of driving, and that lasted me until I finally stepped out and addressed it when I was 46 years old. Now I absolutely love to drive. I don't love city driving as much, but it's the most empowering thing ever. Um, both my girls live away, not about an hour away, but so the only girl I have left home is my golden retriever, Stella. And she's the sweetest girl ever. I love dancing. I love singing. I'm quite musical. I play a couple of instruments. I've done some songwriting, and I've found songwriting to actually be quite therapeutic, especially when I'm going through something. It's a great way to express myself and how I'm feeling. So professionally, I'm a graduate of the University of Toronto and Sheridan College. And as I mentioned, I'm working on my master's degree right now in psychology. I'm also a licensed humanist officiant, and humanism is a secular philosophy of life that affirms that people, by our very nature, have the capacity and responsibility to lead meaningful and ethical lives based on reason and compassion. It's a secular philosophy. And I've been on the board of directors of the Ontario Humanist Society since 2018. I've also formerly worked at the municipal
Okay.
and county levels with a focus on events, tourism, and grant writing. I've worked in recreation for seniors. I've been self-employed for the last several years, which really was fantastic for me as I was going through my divorce transition. And I have a lot of marketing and content experience, and that's what my focus has been on in the last several years. And that's how I came to find Anne Marie. So, and I'm also a published author, and just finished and a book editor, and I just finished editing a book as well.
Well, thank you, Barb. So I want to share one of my favorite brick graphics with you. I found this a number of years ago, and it talks about our comfort zones. Now, our comfort zones are where we can be in life, where things are comfortable. If you've been married for a long time, or if you've been in the same, just part of your existence for a long time, it feels really, really good. And or it feels, let me rephrase that. That's wrong. It feels normal. It's your normal. You're used to it. Sometimes you may feel a little uncomfortable in it. You're feeling like something is missing. You're feeling like there's got to be more or something like that. And then we try to move out of our comfort zone. And what happens next is we enter into the fear zone. Now, this was something that was created by our biology for a long time ago when we were being chased by saber-toothed tigers. And our biology wants to keep us safe. That's the number one job of our brains, is to keep us safe and to keep our bodies physically safe. And so when we move out of our places of safety or comfort, a lot of times the first thing we enter is our fear zone. And so, we'll have a lot of procrastination and excuses. Have you been on this journey and like saying, oh yeah, I'm gay. Oh no, I'm not. Oh yeah, I'm gay. Oh no, I'm not. Are you really, really worried about what other people are going to think about all this? And, how am I going to tell this person? And how am I going to tell that person? And even afraid to take like maybe little risks, like maybe putting a rainbow bracelet on your wrist, or maybe putting a little rainbow pin, just anything to like push out of that comfort zone. And the fear of the zone is there for a reason, but it's just fear. And so sometimes we have to push through our fear zone before we can enter the learning zone. And then what happens after we enter the learning zone? We go through a period of incredible growth. For some people who come out later in life, it is akin to a spiritual awakening. And it's also an akin to something of like realizing like, oh my gosh, I have looked at this world through this lens. And now I'm starting to realize that maybe the lens I'm looking at the world is not the right one that fits me. And so we go through those and then we start all over again until we want to go on our next adventure in life. And we will go through comfort and fear and learning and growth. And the thing is that like the fear zone, once we learn that it's just fear, it's much more easier to navigate because fear is a feeling and all feelings only last in their acute phase for about 90 seconds. So I love that graphic to really explain why this is so dang hard. And so the first question we're asking is maybe I'm not straight. And over the years, Barb and I have come to this conclusion that there are really four different things going on. The first thing is that all of us are conditioned. And conditioning is a way our families and our cultures, our religions, our towns, our cities, our social, anything social around us teaches us how to live in the world. And and sometimes what our families and cultures believe may not actually fit who we are authentically. And so a lot of times when you've been conditioned by religion or been conditioned by what your family believes about certain things, it's hard to get back to
Can I help?
who you were born to be. Um, the next thing is,
Come get his clothes before we eat.
Mark, can we mute that, please? Um, and then the next thing is that we really struggle with too is that sense of cognitive dissonance, and we'll talk about that later. There's compulsory sexuality and internalized homophobia. So when we are in our conditioned self, we often have a lot of fear and we hold back and we worry about what others think. And if you noticed, the signs of the conditioned self are very much the signs of the fear zone, right? Because when you start to leave your comfort zone, which is part of your conditioning, and then you go into this fear zone, your conditioned self is like, oh my gosh, maybe I shouldn't do this. Feeling really, really exhausted. You have contractive thinking, like, oh no, I'm just gonna forget about this and not, go towards who I was created to be. Sometimes people use addictions to cover up these feelings. Often you feel tension in your body. And sometimes you even have real physical expressions of constricted breathing or expansive breathing. So as time goes on and as you move more into your authenticity and you take the parts of your conditioning that no longer work for you and you go towards the parts of your authentic self, things begin to change. We begin to move forward. We begin to have expansive thinking. We feel empowered. And it's really interesting because you can go back between your conditioned self and authentic self. Oh, maybe in 2 minutes, you can go back and forth between it 10 times. But as time goes along, become more and more comfortable who we were created to be. Barb, can you take the next one, please?
Absolutely. So, you know, sometimes that we hold these some what we call a core belief, and that is just something that we have learned very early on in our lives, and it's been entrenched in us. And we just automatically assume that these core beliefs are the way things are. And then when we're presented with evidence that works against that belief, then it's really hard for, no matter how convincing that evidence is, no matter how true it seems, it becomes really hard for us to accept that, and we experience something called cognitive dissonance. Maybe some of you have heard of that term before, but it's when we're presented with something that is true, but it goes against what is absolutely ingrained in us. And it's, it's what causes people to rationalize, ignore and deny things that are just patently not true, that because it doesn't fit in with our core beliefs. And where do these core beliefs come from? Well, they can come from, they can be things that we were taught as young people. They can come from faith traditions. They can come from family traditions and how we were raised. They can come from society as well. And messaging from society is a very powerful influence. So if you think about things like, for example, and I want you all to think about this, what representations of lesbians did you see when you were growing up, and what was that like? What kind of messaging did you get about what it meant to be a lesbian? And if that messaging is negative, then you can really end up internalizing that. And so even though you might be having these feelings, it might be like, I can't be a lesbian, I don't look a certain way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't look like what a lesbian looks like, when in fact there's no prerequisite for, there's no lesbian uniform. We're a pretty diverse group.
Well, except maybe a snapback or something like that. Yeah. I love the thought about cognitive dissonance, and a real simple way to explain it is that, you're a smoker and you hear all kinds of reasons why your smoking is bad for you. And you're also experiencing physical symptoms why smoking is bad for you, but you keep smoking anyway. So if you think about it, you keep getting all kinds of signals that you may not be as straight as you think you are, but you keep living a straight life, even though, excuse me, I hope this cold will be better tomorrow, even though, maybe you've been in a relationship with somebody for 6 months and you're like, oh, I'm straight. It's just her. Or you you've had a crush on so many friends in your life, but you're like, oh, I just had developed really emotionally intimate relationships with women. Well, yeah, but you also may not be straight. And so a lot of times we do stuff to explain away what we are experiencing so we can hold on to that core belief of who we are. So, Barb, can you take this too? I'm really struggling to talk. Would you
Sure,
mind?
no problem, no
Thanks.
problem. I got
Can
it.
you
And I
do the next two? Yeah, and the
yeah,
next two. Yeah,
yeah, you
thanks.
got it. A really good example of that would be, and this describes my experience, although it wasn't worded by me. I read it recently, is that when I felt something for a boy, it was a crush, but when I felt something for a girl, it was admiration. And that's cognitive dissonance at work, trying to make sense of our feelings and our experience within the context of how we were formed.
Mhm.
So, compulsory heterosexuality is one of those things that helps to form those core beliefs. And what is that? Well, it was a term that was coined by, I believe it was Adrienne Rich, back in the 1980s. And it's a theory that heterosexuality is forced upon women in a patriarchal and heteronormative society. And basically, it just means that women, we are very heavily socialized to prefer relationships with men and to ignore the yes, the Raging Rich was a late in life lesbian, absolutely.
Mhm.
And devalue the relationships that we have with women. So again, my I have a crush on a boy, but I admire the girl, right? Or saying things like, sex with a boy is sex, but sex with a girl really is just fooling around. It's
Mhm.
not real sex, right? But in fact, it is. So, these can lead to conditions of internalized homophobia. And I think we all probably understand here what homophobia is, but what is internalized homophobia? What does that actually mean? What it means is that when we hear those negative messages about what it means to be queer, we believe them.
Mhm.
And if you think about it, being gay was really, it was a pathology up until 1973, I believe.
Yeah, 74.
Yeah, yeah. So it really hasn't been that long since being gay hasn't been considered an
Mental
illness.
illness. Yeah,
Right.
mental illness. Yeah.
Exactly. So, when we get those messages that, being gay is bad, and by the way, it's just because it's no longer like considered a pathology, it doesn't mean everybody feels that way. There is still a very persistent strain within contemporary society that still views queer people as mentally ill. But these negative attitudes that we hear, and we can hear them on the schoolyard, we can hear them from people within our own family, we hear them in our faith communities, all we even hear it through you know like television and movies, or have in the past.
Or recently with laws. I mean, like
Yeah.
in this wonderful state of Tennessee, they tried to ban drag.
Hmm. Hmm.
In a town about an hour from here, they tried to ban any kind of gay affection. That got quickly turned over by the ACLU. But
Hmm.
if anybody went out in public and like a lesbian couple was holding hands, they could get fined or arrested. So back in the 40s, a woman or a man could be arrested for wearing the clothes of the other gender.
Hmm.
So, I mean, there's all kinds of ways that society has done to form these very negative messages about queer people.
And also, I think, to make us the punchline of a joke, and if I can relate something, my youngest daughter has just moved away for the summer, and she got a job serving at a bar called the Regal Beagle. Well, if we're all of a certain age, we know what the Regal Beagle is, right? It was the bar in Three's Company.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I did not know
The
that.
name of the Murphy's Company. And I laughed when she told me, and she's like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "Of course you don't know what it is. You're 19 years old." But Three's Company, the premise of that show, even though the message, what they didn't come out and go, "Gay is bad. You shouldn't be gay." But the entire premise of that show was to make gayness the punchline.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Absolutely.
It's a
Yeah.
profoundly homophobic
It's
premise.
not one that holds up.
No, no, can't say that. The physical comedy absolutely held up, but the premise of the show, not so much.
Yeah.
So, how do you know if you're suffering from internalized homophobia? Well, shame is the biggest indicator, right? I think that there's a common pattern of behaviors that that all stem out of shame. Denial. So, telling yourself, "Oh, this isn't real. This is a phase," or maybe I'm only attracted to her, but I'm not all attracted to all women, just one particular woman. Just minimizing through denial our feelings and of same-sex attraction. Secrecy. So obviously, the inability to come out, even if you really, really want to, or even if it's really, really hard to stay, and even if you're getting pressure from a partner who is out. That's a really difficult combination. Lying, just outright saying, "Nope, no, I'm not gay," but you know internally you are. And this is another big one, coming out selectively. So you're maybe okay to be out with your queer friends, but at work, not at all. At church, no way. Or with my family, no. So, and that stems from a fear of rejection. All of those things come from shame. You want to keep going, or should I?
If you could just keep going, that would be
Sure,
good.
sure, sure. Sure,
Shirley's
sure.
struggling to talk. I'm sorry, Barb.
No problem, no problem. So, sometimes we see a dynamic where two people will be dating. One is out, one is not, and having the person who's not out, insisting that you keep the secret. And this
Mhm,
can be a condition with friends as well. I'm going to trust you with this secret, but don't tell anyone.
mhm,
Living a double life, and we see this all the time. uh, Folks who have their primary relationship, their married relationship, their heteronormative relationship, and they have another partner on the side, a same-sex partner,
mhm.
um, forcing others to stay in the closet. So, okay, we can be a couple, but we can't hold hands in public. Or, we have to, if we're going to go away for the weekend, we have to tell them we're friends or we're cousins. you know, History will say they're friends, right? That's kind of the
Yes.
joke
There's,
about.
if you're in the lesbian community, there's a lot of jokes about like archaeologists, they'll come
Yeah.
upon a painting with two women naked in bed and saying,
Mhm.
maid giving her mistress or giving her like mistress, the person she works for, a back massage.
Right. Yeah. An innocent back massage. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
History will say they're friends. Uh-huh. Mhm. Yeah, we know the truth. Um, Lying by omission. So, if somebody does confront you and wants to know about your romantic life, or hey, I went away this weekend with my wife or my husband, and what did you do this weekend? Oh, you know what? No, just I'm gonna steer clear of those conversations because it's gonna reveal too much about me. And this is one of the really most challenging parts of being in relationship, or trying to have a relationship when you're still in the closet. Ultimately, when you're not fully out, it means that you cannot fully engage, and so relationships end up being quite superficial. um it's just really hard to integrate yourself into somebody else's, like, to have a deep relationship with somebody without integrating yourself in each other's lives, without meeting each other's people, without sharing friends and time with family. We aren't islands, right? Each individual is connected. We're all connected to other people, and part of being a partner with somebody is embracing them into your world. So when that can't happen because of internalized homophobia, usually it means that the relationship isn't able to go the distance.
So hold on. Oops. Don't want to do that yet. And so, okay, so we have just given you a ton of information. And one of the things that Barb and I and other people that have been on this journey is that we really, to be able to navigate all of this, the foundations of what we do in Lotus Group coaching is really about self compassion. I am a big follower of Kristen's Neff's work around self compassion. And when um, people learn to practice self compassion, which means being kind and understanding towards one himself, things get better. So I view self compassion, fierce self compassion, as a tool to help everyone navigate through this time. So I'm going to give a little tutorial about it right now.
Amory, the video is not working. Or the screen isn't being shared.
It's not.
No. Mm-mm.
Well, I'm not sure why it's doing that, but we'll have that later. Hold on. Thanks,
That's
Megan.
strange. I could see it. It's
Can
interesting.
some people see it? Yeah. Okay.
You
Some
can
people.
see it.
I
Yeah.
can see it.
Okay. So let me just go back.
Now I can see it.
Okay, well, let me start it again. Oh, wrong way. Hold on. There we go. So we have put up a workbook. We have put a workbook together, and I sent it out yesterday. I will send it out again tonight. And Barb, can you tell a little bit about the homework we have scheduled?
Sure. It is some worksheets on, I believe, internalized homophobia
Right, and also about self-kindness.
and about self-kindness. That's right. So, what these worksheets are going to do are to help you identify some patterns of thinking that and help you uncover what some of those core beliefs that you may have and you may be fostering and cultivating still, even though they're not helpful for you. And so once we can uncover a core belief, then we can start to challenge that core belief. So what these worksheets are going to do are they're going to be able to help you look at what your core beliefs are about yourself, about your sexuality, about the messages that you've received, about what it means to be queer. They're going to help you foster a new way of thinking, to help flip the script and to help change your perspective into something that's more affirming and validating for who you are. So if you look at that's pages 8 and pages 12 to 13. If you want to print them off and answer, write down your responses in there, that's great. If not, if maybe you're a journaler, you can write your responses in your journal. But Emery and I invite you to reflect on these questions and to do the homework. It won't take you a ton of time. But
and we'll ask about it tomorrow.
We are going to ask about it tomorrow, and I want you to really think about it. Take some time to think about the questions that we ask you in these worksheets, and then how we're going to help reframe your way of thinking to something that's more positive, that can help you to become shame-free and to actually celebrate who you are, and also to foster some kindness towards yourself, because I think sometimes we can be our own worst critics.
So I'm going to hit stop recording.